Hey, it's the Clapper Loader. And without me, there are no films. Yeah. How's everyone doing? So, I've been treated to watching The Omen, as I did in my last podcast. I said that the best trilogy of the 70s horror was the Omen series. And I stand by it even more after watching the original 1976 Omen a few hours ago. And actually, I stopped watching it again to do this podcast. The reason I want to do a deep dive is because I believe that with all of the ins and outs of the horror genre itself, you've got your slashers, you've got your supernaturals, you've got just, it runs the gamut. But this particular film, and there's another one I will mention in a little while, that I find absolutely chilling, like to the bone, because it completely messes with reality. And if people are confident about anything in their lives, it's their reality. If they are sitting in a car, they're sitting in a car. They're not sitting on the moon. They are confident about where they are, their surroundings, who they're with. If they're in love with someone, they're in love with that person. And, they believe that they know that person. What makes this even worse is that you have this idyllic couple who are suffering from what thousands of people have suffered from, which is losing a child. And even to make it worse, they've lost this child at birth. And to make it worse, there's nothing that they can do about it, meaning like the character that Gregory Peck plays in the film is, he's an ambassador to prominent, and he cannot use any of his power whatsoever to change the fact that he is going to have to accept, or not, but chooses to accept a child in place of his own. So that's messing with reality firstly, because usually when a mom goes in to have a baby, she comes out with her baby. There's extreme circumstances where something happens to the mother or the child. So you have that on top of the fact that, okay, so they've crossed that hurdle, right? They have their child, they're together. Gregory Peck's character is promoted. And he is now living in England. I think she comes with him. They're now living abroad, and weird things begin to happen. Now, initially, if you are alone in your bedroom and you hear something fall in the other room, you go check it out, something fell, and there's nothing, no strange coincidence. Maybe it was tipped over, or maybe, somehow it fell off whatever it fell off of. No problem. And nothing worth thinking about any further. So here is this couple. They have this beautiful boy. They've raised him. He's now, coming upon 5 years old. And with one of the best montages for a segue from being a toddler to a 5-year-old, the Omen has, we go to his birthday party, which is supposed to be the most exciting event. He's 5. It's a milestone for a child. And his parents are excited. And he's got a nanny, and he's got friends. And he's having the kind of birthday that most kids would love, with, rides and in this grand yard. So then we have our nanny being cursed by the devil dog to offer herself to the boy named Damien. And she does. Time passes a little bit further. A lady shows up at the house. This is, the new nanny. The new nanny as I just watched, I listened to how slippery her tongue was to get inside their home. They had virtually no security, nothing. And these are supposed to be diplomats. They've got nothing to protect them from this lady. So she shows up to take care of their son. She worms her way with her tongue into their lives to protect Damien, because she is apparently some sort of worshiper of Damien's, and protector. Okay. All of that sounds weird, but I go back to why this is extremely scary, because you have no idea. In your reality, could this happen? Could this really happen? Because if you say something like this in real life, people will think something's wrong with you. What is wrong with you? Are you paranoid or something? But that's the way that they thought. Nothing's happening. So the nanny that killed herself, something happened to her, she's had a bad day, no problem. This new nanny shows up. No one really knows how or why, but it's all working out, so we'll let it go. And no coincidence whatsoever. There's no dots to connect. There's a priest that shows up to the embassy to beg Gregory Peck's character to repent and follow Christ. And not a strange coincidence. You don't line up those dots, So you think, okay, he's a nut. Let's get this priest out of here. No problem. And slowly further, these strange coincidences begin to actually become dots to paint a picture once you connect them. And that's why that is scary. That's why The Omen is frightening. Not that it can happen in real life, but when you have situations in life that line up, people usually don't catch these things, and they'll think in hindsight, oh, that person, oh, that event, oh, that led up to this. It's almost like a small tremor, and then you have another small tremor, and then you have another, and then you have an earthquake. And you go, oh, well, of course we were going to have a big earthquake because we've had all these tremors, and that was kind of leading up if you've connected dots. So yeah, it's frightening to go from knowing, okay, so Gregory Peck's character knew he was lying the entire time about Damien being his son. That's gut-wrenching, because if you think about it, his character had to lie to his wife about the child they're raising, knowing the whole time this child was not theirs, and watch her react to this child not being hers. She had some sort of instinct that this thing is not from me. I see nothing in there resembling anything of myself. She knew that inherently, and it comes later, too late for her to get away from. But, you gotta wonder, is it strange coincidences, or is it instinct, or a combination of both? But sometimes once you go down a certain path, there's no way out. And at the end of this movie, there is no way out for any of the characters, pretty much, except for Damien, because he was supposed to live. And although they did shoot the ending for this differently, they decided, we're gonna, we got some milking to do. This is gonna be a trilogy. And it just so happens that each film was fantastic. They didn't mess it up at all. So, that goes back to why it's horrible. There's a movie called, the most frightening film I've ever watched in my entire life. Ever. And one that it's hard for me to watch. You wouldn't believe it. It's actually not my favorite film. It's actually one of my least favorite films because it's so hard to watch. But I find it just absolutely frightening. Why? I'll tell you what the movie is in a moment, but The reason why is because the reality that you live in, that you've created, or that your parents have created for you, or that you've created for your children, is one of sort of like different patterns, right? And anything outside of that is unfamiliar, unsettling, and disorienting. And I felt that way with The Omen. Once Gregory Peck, with his absolutely smooth voice, realizes the deep doo-doo he's in, he still doesn't want to fix it, but he does try. It was just too late, and it was never going to happen anyway. He was doomed, and unfortunately it was his own lie that killed him and everyone. And that's sad. That messes with me. Like, oh my God, my reality, when people try to give me little hints or tips, or why did that person say that to me, all along the way, like in The Omen, all along the way, there was someone to warn him, to tell him, to send him in the different direction, but he chose his path. And I think about that for myself, like, oh, did someone say something to me today to warn me about something? Is this some premonition they have, or is it just unfamiliar, unsettling, Okay. My film, the film that I think is the most devastating, frightening horror film ever, is Frailty, with Bill Paxton. And that movie, I saw the review for it way back when it was released, and I loved Bill Paxton a lot as an actor. I'd been watching him my entire life. So he was always kind of this goofball guy. Even when he was playing something serious, he still had a goofy edge. And I've always enjoyed his work. So when I found out that he had directed Frailty, I thought, oh, I gotta check it out. And the review. And it's a horror film, so it got me on all three levels. And I watched this movie. I didn't go to the theater. I did see it on cable. I saw it on Showtime, as a matter of fact, the first time. And I was horrified. Absolutely horrified. Because of the reality of the movie, of the situation. And it's told from the aspect of his children. And you never know whether what was happening was right or was wrong. And then the twist ending was just, that is scary. It is Michael Myers. It is Jason scary. It is Freddy Krueger all in one film, chasing you with no light down a dark path forever. That movie stuck with me. The Omen stuck with me because people have their own sense of realities, and we all do. But when it's shaken, when it's changed, when you find yourself someplace else and you don't know how you got there, or you find yourself someplace else and you've had signs along the way, and then you look back and it's too late to change your path. Oh, I just find that absolutely horrific. Unimaginable. Just, oh God. It's absolutely scary to me. It's scary. Frailty is excellent. It is frightening. The Omen, more on not a real level, because I don't think anyone's going to find out their kid has 666. Although, in their head, when I was little, I did look just to make sure. Because my father was a minister. So I'm like, okay, I was born in the church. So let's make sure I don't have any 666 in my head. Okay. So, The Omen, amazing work. It's free on YouTube right now. If you watch it on Newcastle After Dark, those two guys, you can watch it with them, and they're hosting the movie. I'm going to go back to finish up watching it for the day, and I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Frailty. I give Frailty a 10 out of 10. It's incredible. It's really incredible work. But man, not ever knowing the truth. Just like in The Omen, not ever knowing, could the path have changed? Could it have been a better outcome? And I guess in some ways, it was never going to be a good outcome. I'm a clapper loader, and without me, there's no Frailty, there's no Omen, there are no films.